Hello, and welcome back to the Very Real Estate Effect podcast, a show dedicated to real estate investing right here in Quebec. Hello, everyone. Hi, Dino. How's it going, man?
What's up, guys? I'm fantastic. How about you? Your projects are going well, Ax?
Yeah, the projects are going well. We have a few on the go right now. We started a demolition in a property that we're going to rebuild and add a floor, and then we're finalizing a refinancing. We're about to close on another property in Laval. We have quite a bit of stuff going, and we're in the process of putting another property under contract. So we got a lot on the plate right now.
Very exciting. Love it.
Yeah.
I love it. We have, yesterday we went to see a few projects we have going on. Also, we're going to finalize a duplex probably this week or the week after. It's a flip we're doing on the south shore of Montreal. And we are beginning a new project in Hochelaga Maisonneuve. We actually went on site yesterday for the first time, take our measurements, look what we're going to do with that. And we're probably going to convert a duplex in a triplex.
Nice. That's a lot of value add.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's
Make
great.
it happen.
Yeah, make it happen. And you have to see value where others don't. That's how we succeed, huh?
Ethan, thanks for coming, man.
I'm happy to be here.
Exactly. So to introduce today's guest, Ethan Montague, thanks for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks. I appreciate the invite.
To give you to see how we got to know Ethan, I met this guy in Vegas a few weeks ago. We went in a convention, flipping mastermind. That's where we met with Ryan Pineda. And Ethan just had a great vibe, and he saw me across the room. He said, "Hey, you're that Canadian guy, right?"
The Canadian dude.
There you go. I said, "Yeah." So we started shooting the shit, and I just liked this guy's vibe. Single dad, working hard in real estate, buying doors, flipping properties, and a fucking rock star on TikTok, man. Welcome to the show, Ethan.
Thanks. I appreciate the introduction. That put a smile on my face.
Well, that's perfect, man. Look, we're glad to have you here. And so, yes, today we don't have a Canadian investor. Ethan, you're based in Des Moines, Iowa. And that's okay, because in the end, we're all kind of doing the same thing. So first of all, how in the world did you even get started investing in real estate?
So I used to wrestle in college, and I got hurt. And I ended up losing a large portion of my scholarship. So I dropped out, and I went to Europe. I spent all my money. And when I got back, my dad was like, "Well, what are you going to do now?" And I heard one of those ads on the radio that's like, "Oh, come to a free seminar to learn how to flip houses." And that was Fortune Builders. That was the name of the company. So I went to their free seminar, and what they said made sense. It was as long as something horrible didn't happen and the population didn't decrease, if I owned property, then I'd always own something that was valuable. So that all happened when I was 20. And then I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad at 21, and bought my first rental property at 23, and I'm 29 now.
Wow. Good. It's good to start early.
Yeah.
I wish I would have done the same.
Yeah, I just got fortunate with reading that at a young age, and it's kind of just clicking for me. And I never really liked the whole, I wanted to wrestle. That was my goal. I was going to wrestle for the Air Force because I always liked traveling. And then when that kind of went out the window, I didn't really know what I was going to do. And that made sense. Passive income made sense. So.
Well, actually, you're still wrestling. No, you're wrestling.
Yeah, I still wrestle here and there. I'm a little bit older now. I don't move the way I used to, but a little bit.
It's the hustle for the hustle, the hustle for the wrestle.
Yeah.
Okay, so you started with some single family homes, some multifamily.
Yep, I did house hacking. So I'd buy a house. The first house I bought, was actually an investment loan. I saved up $15,000 and my parents saved up $15,000. We bought a single family house. I moved in one room and then rented out the 2 other rooms to my friends. Well, then about 10 months later, I found a duplex and it was like a really good deal. And I told my parents about it. And I actually had them, this is crazy, but I like dissected my parents' financials at 21. And I was like, you guys, you know, my dad was in the military, but they didn't really have a lot of financial literacy. And they only had $81,000 each in their retirement. And I was like, this is not going to work. So I made them liquidate some of their 401k to do that at first investment with me. Well, when the second one came around, they're like, we're moving too fast. We haven't really even made any money on the first one because it was just a single family and I was living there.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll do it by myself. So I got approved for an owner-occupied loan, bought a duplex, and that I was like 24, almost 25. And then I went from like paying, you know, like $250, I think, out of pocket. So I was still paying in a single family, right? Like my roommate's rent didn't cover enough with expenses and all that. To the very next month, I was like making, you know, like $500. So like my income changed by like $750 overnight. Because one incident I was like negative 250 and the other one I was like positive 500. And I was like, holy shit, what job can I go to where I'm just like, I want, you know, a $9,000 annual increase and I want it now.
Yeah.
And so from that point forward, it was like, okay, it's multiple doors. I have to do multiple doors to get this kind of return. And then after about 6 to 10 months later, I found a flip. And so then I moved out of the duplex again into the flip, house hacked that. And then I've been house hacking for like 6 or 7 years. That's how I've gotten as many doors as I have, is like I've moved at least one time every year for the past 6 to 7 years.
Yeah, but that's a great way to grow and to scale, though. If you're owner occupant, you can get really advantageous term loans, and it allows you to put less down and then to grow faster and faster. So where's your portfolio at now? And then we'll kind of go back and dissect how you made it happen.
So I've got 45 rentals right now, and that's between Des Moines, Ankeny, and Boone. Iowa, all in Iowa.
All small units, or you have some multi-family?
The biggest I have right now is a 12-plex, and then I have a 9-plex, and then I have a 6-plex, and like a 5-plex, a couple 4-plexes, duplex, and some single families.
Okay. And so how were you able to like scale that quickly? Because that's within just a couple of years. Now you're at 45 doors. You started with a single family home. I mean, to a lot of people listening, this is like, it's magic. Like,
yeah.
So can you walk us through a little bit through the process of like how you went in about scaling? Because at some point, like you tap out, you don't have any more funds.
I'm tapped out. Yeah, I'm tapped out of funds. I've been tapped out. So to be honest, I'm very like, when I get something in my head, like it's going to be that way. There's too many people, too many stories I've read, like visualizing things and it happening just the way they see it. So like, you know, that being one of my gifts and flaws at the same time. Once I get something in my head, like I am determined it will happen. Mm-hmm. So at 21, when I, you know, started doing this, I told some people that were in my network and, you know, for the past 6 years that I was going to get to this point and I was going to come back and I'd want money from them. Like I'd want them to invest with me. I'd want to help, you know, get them passive income. And in the beginning, you know, 21, 23, 25, even when I only owned like 4 doors, it is, you know, an easier laughing matter to kind of just brush off. Well, then I bought a building for like $50K. It was like 12,000 square feet. And like, I think like 9 months later, I sold it and I made $100,000. And that was like my first like big, like, okay, you know, that's the only time I made $100,000, to be honest. So I then went and it was really hard, but I didn't keep any of that money. I took all of that $100,000. I did a 1031 tax exchange and I rolled it into a sixplex. And that took me to like 15 units, 15 or 20. So then at that point, I knew that I could swing back to some of the people that were still in my network and be like, hey, like, this is where I'm at now. I'd really like to, do some things. So then I started borrowing money from people at flat rates, at a high flat rate. I think my first two were at 15%. Mm-hmm. I borrowed like 20K from two different people at 15% for a year term, no monthly payments. I just had to give them $23,000 back in a year. When I did that, I also realized that I should have made in my contract that if I paid them back sooner, it was like divide. So I should have taken 15% divided by 12, mm-hmm. and that would have been my monthly rate. So if I paid them back in 11 or 10 months, which I did, I paid them both back in less than 11 months. So they even made more than a 15% annual return. So mm-hmm. after that, I was like, I will never pay you guys that much money again, because now I can go out and get hard money lenders, and there's other investors. Like, my network just kind of kept growing outside of the people that I initially wanted to do work with. And so then once I paid them back their 23K, they just came back and wanted to give me more. So one of them has lent me $100,000 now, and that's at 10%. Somebody else has lent me 50K, and that's at 8%. And then I actually now have a doctor that's in California, and she gave me 65K as an equity partner. So she actually has equity in one of the buildings that I have. So nice. I just consistently networked, like doing this with Dino and reaching out to people that I felt were not necessarily at a higher level or at a lower level, just doing as much networking and foundation to let people know what I was doing, so that if I could help them, then whatever they were doing, if they felt like they could help me, then it would just come back tenfold.
Nice. Yeah. So on what you just said, so 1031 is a very good thing in the US. When you reinvest your money, financially makes sense for your income tax and all that, for our fellow Canadians that are listening, which we don't have here in Canada. But Ethan, when you said your partners lent you like 20 grand at 15%, what type of guarantee would you offer these guys? Because usually some of them want to be on title, or, so how did that work?
They're personal notes. So I was the guarantee, which again doesn't give the investor a ton of security. But that's why I had been establishing that relationship for so long. When I got that first 20K, the first time he heard about me wanting to borrow money from him was probably 6 years prior. Oh, wow. So I had been planting that seed, let's call it, even if it was only 5 years, like I had planted that seed 5 years ago and been just consistently watering it by, one, keeping an actual friend relationship with the person outside of money, then randomly talking about what I was doing, consistently posting on social media, and then just, since we're friends, he knows what's going on in my life. And then when I came back to it, and I never tried to ask people for money I didn't ask anybody for money until I had done deals. I think that's a big thing, that when people are starting, and especially, I don't know your guys' audience, but when people are starting, they like see some of these videos on how to do houses with no money down and that's fantastic. It's a great strategy. But if you've never done a deal, it's very possible you don't know how to analyze a deal. So if you're going to do a deal with other people's money, it should be hard money, so that you at least have a company
behind it
that's behind it and doing their own underwriting. Because if you're just lending from like the doctor that I used, she's not doing her own underwriting. She's trusting me entirely. Yeah. That could ruin your name before you even get off the ground. So if you're going to use other people's money, I think you should use hard money so that they do their own underwriting.
Mm-hmm. And as you said, like it builds the credibility to when you meet people like 5 years prior, and let them know what is it that you're doing, and keep them in the loop, and like, hey, I'm doing some new deals, I'm doing this and that, because it automatically builds the trust and the track record, and you haven't even asked them for anything. Mm-hmm. But the day you do, or the day you say, hey, I have an opportunity, if you know someone who's interested, then they're going to pile in.
So true. Do you, is that some of the strategies you guys use as well? Or what kind of real estate do you, I know Dino that you're in on multifamilies, but Axel, what kind of real estate are you?
So, so actually, yeah, Dino doesn't really do multifamily. I do mostly multifamily, and that's buy and hold. We optimize, we burr some properties, and then some other ones is kind of like redevelopment and transformation. So right now we're taking a duplex and we're transforming it into a 4 unit, adding a floor and a mezzanine. It's rebuilt from the ground up, and we always with the idea of long-term hold.
Wow. Okay. Awesome.
I'm more into the rent to own. I do rent to own mostly. I do flips and I do Airbnbs.
Oh, that's right. But don't you have like a 10-plex in somewhere? Oh, okay.
I'd say when the deal comes around, not because you're not in that segment, you're gonna.
Yeah.
No, yeah. But, my main business is RTO, Airbnb, and flip.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the funny thing, going back to what you were saying, Ethan, is that whatever your strategy is, whether it's short term, whether it's to do flips, whether it's multifamily and long term hold and stuff, the process of building a relationship with an investor is going to be the same. That's a constant. And then whatever you use the funds for is for you to determine and to properly explain it to your investor. But the process more or less stays going with the same lines.
Yep, exactly. And I think that people, the sooner they practice, I think a lot of people get worried about having these conversations. And that's why when people ask me, oh, how do I get started in real estate or whatever? I'm like, first go educate yourself so that when you actually get an investor to sit down with you, right? When you nail that part of it, you can understand what they're saying. Because when I was younger, I burnt the first relationship with a millionaire that I ever had, because I convinced him to come and sit down with me. And then when he actually took the time, I could only understand like 60% of what he was saying. So he just felt like he was wasting his time. And sadly, thank gosh I had that happen at 20, and that's never happened again. But that's being able to understand and then get your message to them on why it's okay, is huge.
Yeah. You should call him back.
You know what? That's a good point. You should call him back. And against everything that he's going to expect, you call him back and you almost apologize and say, I think back of the conversation we had and I realized like how far I've come. And I just wanted to let you know that, I'm so thankful for the lesson that you gave me.
That's I'm going to write that down.
No, I thought we were going to come with a check.
Yeah. And because now you tell him, look, now I'm, 45 doors further. We're doing some great stuff. And, I'm still grateful for the conversations that we had. You'd be surprised how far that could go.
Yeah. So, Ethan, we're talking about sharing with others because people approach you. So how can I get started in real estate? You do a lot of social networking. You're constantly posting. You're very performing on TikTok. You actually gave me a lot of golden nuggets when I saw you, and I appreciate it. Thank you. Why do you do that? What's the plan when you're always posting on TikTok or Instagram and sharing your knowledge or sharing your projects?
I mean, half of my intent is really genuine. Like it does bother me that I didn't learn any of this in school. And I even went, and after I dropped out of college, I went back and I got a community college degree in business. And when I finished, I think I'd owned like 5 houses at the time. And again, still massive waste of time. And so that just really upset me that the financial literacy, which is such an important thing, after seeing my dad work as hard as he did. And then after he got hurt in the Army, my mom had to clean. She has a cleaning business where she cleans other people's houses. And it's like, how have they not put themselves in a better position to not be in this position at 60 years old? And so then it just comes down, well, where's the education coming from? So I wasn't good at school. That wasn't something I was good at, but I do care about understanding money and numbers and how banks work and financial literacy. So that is my genuine side of things. And then on the selfish side of why I'm posting and trying to gain an audience is because I want a sponsorship from QuickBooks. I don't want to make money from people, like the whole subscription or be a guru. And I'm not talking bad about anyone that does those kinds of programs. That's not but I want money from billion-dollar companies. I want them to pay me and sponsor me. Like, since I'm a single dad, I want Freshly is like a meal prep company. I don't, like, with everything I'm doing, I still work out and I'm active, but like cooking right now, to me, I don't really cook. I'm either eating out or it's like pizza or frozen chicken nuggets, you know? So Freshly is very good, you know, healthy meal prep food. So I want sponsorships from these, you know, billion-dollar companies that I'm already using in my life that I can just like talk about and that allows me to continue using. Because right now I think I pay like $250 for QuickBooks every month. Like, that's a huge expense.
Okay.
That makes sense.
You see a few things for our audience that came today from an investor again, is to grow in real estate or in your business is networking and social media. And we keep on repeating it, and it's so important, the networking and social media also. I mean, I know I do similar stuff that you do, Ethan, and even inspire myself with what you post so I can do something similar. Obviously, it's not the same language though, but I have many people writing back and asking questions and appreciating what we put out there. And it brings you business and it brings you partners and people that have money and don't know how to go about it and want to invest or want to partner up. So there's the sharing part, the knowledge part, but you can also grow your business with that and help others grow with social media, with the networking also. So it's so important. You're so right.
I mean, I met you in Vegas. That was the other part of that. Yeah. But I got flown to Hawaii and Vegas for free from my TikTok like audience, you know, from what I gained on there. Another investor, Alex Camacho, paid for me to go to Hawaii, then go to Vegas. And where a lot of people paid to even get into that event, I got into it for free just because of the work I put in on TikTok.
Yeah.
I paid 10 grand, by the way. So yeah.
You paid 10 grand to go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was worth every dime.
It was.
Sure.
Well,
yeah,
mine was free, but yes, those I've spent personally. I think I'm at like 22,000 for my real estate education with like seminars, and I paid 15,000 for the Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then 4,000 for Fortune Builders. And
you didn't pay, you invested.
You invest in yourself. And it always blows my mind. People who want to get started and they want to go buy a $500,000 building, but they won't spend $5,000 on understanding what the hell is it that they're supposed to do. It just blows my mind.
What? I don't understand that. Do not understand that.
No.
And most of us all own businesses, so it's expenses in the businesses. Come on.
Yeah. Write it off.
Yeah. Hey, just going back to the social media. So we held an event this week with the real estate effect meetup, and I, as the host, I always like try to welcome and greet everyone, stuff like that. And I met someone, he was sitting at the bar. I'm like, oh, so I always ask, like, how do you hear about us? And he said, well, I follow a guy on Instagram. His name is Dino, and he posted it. I'm like, oh, that's great. Like, are you guys friends? You know, I was like, and he'd never met Dino. And he just came to the event because Dino posted, hey, I'll be there from 6 to 9 at that bar, basically. Yeah. And it shows the power of like, wow, people actually, if they're interested, they actually listen and they act on it. And so there's so many benefits for us as real estate investors, because as you said earlier, Ethan, like at some point you tap out and you need other people's resources. And that's just a great way to reach out.
I have made a mistake. If we're going to be, and I like being transparent, I actually need to make a TikTok about this because I do this a lot because I think one of the things people appreciate is because I'm genuine, I'm so honest that I'm not claiming to be a guru. Sometimes I say things that don't end up working out the way I initially thought, you know, because new information will come out that I didn't have when I posted that video. So for the first time, I've actually ran into now a situation where I am negotiating against a buyer's agent that knows me through TikTok that I don't know at all, who has seen some of the content I've made about the property I'm trying to sell.
Wow.
Yeah. So as cool as it is, initially you're like, oh my gosh, like that is the power. But then it's also like, well, hold on. Maybe I need to, when I'm inside these deals and they're actually happening, because I was it's small, like our metro's 680,000 people, while the city's population is only 280,000. So, you can find what's going on, not too hard. So I actually may need to now pause of when I'm uploading content until after deals are done, so I don't actually bite myself in the ass, because my agent now is kind of upset with me. He's a really good friend, but he's like, hey, you're being so honest that like you're now giving more ammo to the people that you're trying, the other bigger investors, and so it's like
Well, Ethan, I do the same thing, and I always post my projects. Like we're starting a new project. I put foot in it yesterday for the first time. Okay, so obviously took shitload of pictures, videos. I did a live.
mm-hmm.
I always share my project where we are when shit hits the fan, when it's a nice job, whatever. But I only share the numbers once the deal is notarized.
That's good to do.
Yeah.
I do share the numbers, and I'm quite honest in my numbers. If I make 40 grand net, I'll say that I made 40 grand net. And you know what? I did a video a few weeks back that we use realtors to buy and sell our properties.
Yep.
And my realtor with one of our properties probably made like 40 or 50 grand on buying and selling the property. And I was getting a lot of bad comments on realtors, and they said you could have saved 50 grand and you shouldn't have used the realtor. And when I shared my numbers, I said I paid a commission of $50,000, and I'm happy to have paid it. But what people don't know is that flip, I got it because of the realtor. So he gave it to me off market.
Yeah.
So I bought it and I put it back in his hands after for him to sell it again. And he did make a lot of money.
Because he'll bring you another one.
Yes, exactly. Say it again.
You can't be cheap with these things. You have to incentivize people. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. But share your numbers at the end, Ethan. Once your deal is well, here it's notarized. I think you guys, it's at the title company once everything is signed. That's where I share the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had a similar incident where when I made a video about paying my interior designer $75 an hour, and a ton of people were like outraged. They were like, that is way too much money. You're getting ripped off. And I'm like, hold on.
Yeah.
He only takes like 2 hours per house, right? To do the entire, this is the blah, blah, blah. So I'm paying $150 to completely remove that stress out of my head, right? So I can focus on bringing in new deals.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like one of the best. And he's not just doing houses that are like tiny little flips. He's mostly doing new construction. So I'm getting the benefits of working with the people that are doing new builds. Yes, I'm paying a higher rate than maybe like a smaller person or whatever, but he's has such a system down. He never spends more than 2 hours on each project. Like, why would I care about 100?
No, exactly.
And then he have to worry about any of the color scheme.
No, and he makes you the shopping list. It's like, otherwise, if you have to go and do it yourself, it's going to take you 10 hours and it's going to be half as well.
Exactly.
Not only that, how much more do you get for your property once he goes through it?
Exactly.
So, I mean, you probably did one property and he's been paid off for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
It's done.
Mm-hmm. And that's another good example of, delegate, give it to professionals so you can be looking for other deals and you do the packaging and let someone else do the execution.
Totally agree. It is mind blowing how many people get so wrapped up in paying towards $5,000 for a program or paying your agent. And it's like, no, they're bringing me off market deals or they're doing me more deals. Like, it's not, there's value in paying your team because it just comes back so much.
Yeah.
So Ethan, what's next?
Right now I'm trying to sell a 12-plex I have. I've done some work to it. I'm trying to sell it. I have an offer. This will be the first time I'm selling on contract. So I've purchased on contract, but they're doing a seller carryback where I'm carrying back 22.5% of the purchase price at 5.75% interest rate. For
Can you explain for our audience what that is? A seller.
Sorry, say that one more time.
Can you please explain to our audience what that is?
Oh, a seller carryback. Yeah. So when you buy a property, for example, let's say that it's like $500,000 and you can raise, from the bank, your 80% LTV. Well, if you don't have the money for the down payment, so they'll give you $400,000. Well, then you still have to put that 20% down. Well, if you don't have that 20%, and for example, the seller has owned the property for X amount of years, where the 400,000 still gives them a couple $100,000 back, you can then ask, hey, seller, would you loan me the $100,000 for the down payment? So you're in on this deal, no money in, and then they make interest on the money that they're lending you. It'll probably be a little bit higher than what you're getting from the bank, but then you're getting in on the deal without any money out of your pocket. So in reverse, that's what someone's now doing to me. But instead, because in the first scenario I listed, that person normally has to take second lien on the property because the bank that raised all the money, they're not going to take second lien, they're taking first lien. So in this situation, someone actually did that scenario to me, and I was like, no, I'm not taking second lien, because if they don't make their payments to me, I can't even default on the property. Well, then, so I said no. Well, a new offer came in, and they're giving me 77.5% all cash from them. So then there's no bank involved. It's straight cash. And then I still get to have first lien on the property for that remaining, I think, like $140,000 that they'll owe me.
And why did you decide to sell that 12-plex when before you were talking about holding?
Because right now I've started doing, I teamed up with this guy in Seattle that I actually met on TikTok. We bought a 9-plex and a 4-plex together. And we're starting to do a lot more off-market strategies. And so that is consuming a little bit more of my bandwidth. The 12-plex was like a full, it's in a great location in Des Moines, Iowa, like 4 minutes from downtown. But it's a whole project. And where my team is at right now, we're having better returns with splitting my team up in half equity in deals where I have equity in. And then also my contractor has such a network of deals that he built up that we now are doing work for other people, and we're charging them a higher margin and then making margin off our employees to help better pay the labor that's going into the equity deals.
Yeah. Subsidizing the other side.
Yeah. So I have I have a team, right? So when I say my team or whatever, I really do have a lot of people that work under me, and I'm super grateful to them. But we have 4 people. So one of them is the co-owner of the construction company. So I have a construction company and I co-own it with one other guy. He is one of those 4 people. And then we have 3 other guys. So we normally try and have 2 guys on one project and 2 guys on another project.
Good. Seems like you have a good setup there.
Trying to. Learning, fumbling a lot right now. We're growing and I'm fumbling, to be honest with everybody. I'm fumbling a lot. I'm about to spend, I think, $10,000 or $15,000 on Steven Heisenberg's program, where he like comes in and he tells you dissects like what are the biggest issues with your business specifically, because I just need to have some better systems and organization for as big as we're getting now.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm just being honest. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, keep investing in yourself, man.
Yep.
All right. Well, look, this is really interesting. Where can the audience find out more about you?
Just Ethan Montaingeon, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. I'm going to start posting more on YouTube, but I'm pretty active on Instagram and TikTok.
Super. Well, I invite everyone to go and check you out, and we'll put your social media handle obviously in the show notes.
Well, I really appreciate the invite, Axel, and Dino. Thank you so much. This was quite the experience, and I appreciate it.
Well, man, thanks to you, man. It was great to see you again, and we'll keep in touch.
Sounds good.
Thanks a lot, man. And so for everyone listening, as usual, if you want to keep supporting us, please leave us a comment, leave us a review, share it with a friend who you think could benefit from this, because the point is just for all of us real estate investors to educate ourselves, to learn something new every day, so we can actually put it back in action in our portfolio and in our daily actions. So thank you very much for listening. And as usual, take action, go make some offers, and we will talk to you next week. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. See you next time.
Peace.